know what I mean? There's just value to it. You go out to the National Apartment Association, which has 100,000 members in 50 states, right? You're gonna have a hard time resonating as much. Industry podcasts, LinkedIn marketing using organic and paid content. Targeted direct mail can actually still work in some cases, right? It's not completely dead. We've seen some success with it. Actually, ironically enough, within the hospitality industry. Beautiful reason why. A lot of times, people making for decisions for a hotel are working in that hotel every day, right? The general manager of that hotel is probably going there every day, and that's probably the decision maker for a lot of your general maintenance and facility work in that building. So anyway, just a bunch of different things, right? Again, this is about promoting the brand, the logo, and the company persona to the target audience more so. Search engine marketing. So this is our reactive space, right? This is a way, and it's really here about when people look for you online. People tell me all the time, oh, no one looks online. I can get my stats from last year about all the search volume numbers if we really want to dig them out. But people do look for commercial painters online. This is a nice way really to kind of start to scoop things up across the board, right? And a good way to diversify your customers kind of outside of that defined audience, right? We don't really know who's on the other end of that computer when someone's looking for a commercial painter, right? We know who's on the other end of the email if we're e-blasting or telemarketing the hotel association, right? So this is a way to be there when people go looking for your services, which inherently can get you engaged with prospects you might not otherwise come across. 3 pieces here: organic SEO, best painter near me, you're showing up below the ads in the map. Local SEO is all about showing up in the map. Paid search marketing, is that PPC piece, right? The paid advertisements. AI concept here that I think is really cool, and you can use this for other places, whether it's an email blast. It's called customer.io. It actually will launch text message communications with people once they fill out the form on your site. So like if I fill out the form on someone's site and I say, oh, it's Aaron Hockel, it's this. Hey, Aaron, start texting with me, right? Again, just jumping on that prospect right away, that engaged person right away, and kind of having some of those automated initial touch points. More efficient, streamlined, et cetera. So, that's really the third one on our reactive piece. We could go for, people have probably heard about these a lot over the years, so I tend not to go into too much detail, but if anybody had any questions about any of them at the end, I'd be happy to discuss. All right, let's talk about our plan, right? So we want to build an overall diversification marketing plan, right? So for us, we're going to research and identify our targets. Who are they? What are we selling them? We're going to develop our audience. That's our data. The data is, again, probably the single most important thing. You need that list, right? My recommendation, 500 people, right? Do not start bigger, especially depending on the size and scale of your organization. If you have 500 people you've never done business with and you think they're a very relevant audience for you, you can consume someone attacking that list, right? We're going to update our website about our markets, our related services, create a scheduled plan using all these different tactics. Scheduled is probably the most important word on here. If we have a schedule and we're dedicated and committed to that schedule, we will be consistent as well. Execute the plan over a defined time range, right? So the plan should not be 30 days, 45 days, 60 days. These plans are 6 to 12 months, right? What are we doing what activities, marketing activities are we engaging in over the next 6 to 12 months to attack these 500 contacts? Track all of our results, right? CRM, Google Analytics, et cetera, right? As many data points as we can capture on the other side, that'll all help flow back into KPIs to say, did this work? Did this not work? What was valuable? What wasn't valuable? Et cetera. This was one of the more wild ones and wild examples. I pulled a little bit of it, but you can literally ask ChatGPT, build me a marketing schedule over 6 months to solicit 500 prospects using these types of marketing pieces, right? Month 1, initial, this is the example, right? And it's only the first month. It's like month 1, week 1, email marketing, send introductory email to the entire list of 500 prospects. Week 2, telemarketing, begin cold calling a subset of prospects, e.g. 50 who opened the initial email. LinkedIn messaging, connect with and send personalized messages to the prospects from the initial email list. It then goes into month 2, and month 2 has like a different overall like theme, and then month 3 has a different theme, and it breaks you down like what to do, how to do it, who to send it to, week by week for 6 months. And it could use some tweaking, probably, big picture, but it gives you the rough outline in about 30 seconds, right? So again, if you're gonna attack it yourself, this would be a pretty good starting point, right? You go out and do this, you might land a job, honestly. It's possible. You go through their first 3 months, you probably would, right? You'll at least have a conversation, you'll be putting bids on the street. Really cool one too, we talk about that LinkedIn resurgence. I wish they didn't put these tables right here. Magic Post is a cool AI tool. It creates LinkedIn posts, it's specific to LinkedIn, and it creates posts that you can choose different outcomes, different objectives, different things you want it to do. And it builds you posts that are designed to, number 1, drive engagement, but number 2, to rank higher in their algorithm, right? Which is 2 very important pieces working hand in hand. I did not look at the costs on this one. We don't use it, but I've seen it and heard about it and read reviews on it, and I did try the free version and this and that. But I mean, it's like you can go be like, create me a post a day for the next 30 days, and it will just sequenced everything, right? So I mean, again, probably use a little bit of tweaking, but again, a really cool tool to streamline this. Because I think people sit back and they go, all right, 6 months, send all these messages, make all these posts, write all these emails. Again, that's the consistency and the commitment where it does become the challenge. Oh, because then we get busy, right? Everyone kind of has those same feelings in business. These are really cool tools to kind of at least streamline some of the more straight ahead things. Marketing KPIs, right? Was the plan successful, right? So I just put down a couple KPIs that we could look at or talk about as we move through here, right? Total leads generated by source. How many leads came from telemarketing, email marketing, right? This is why CRM and all that stuff is so critically important. We can say, what's the value of the bids in the pipeline? It's been a year, we spent this much money. Oh, what was our revenue closed sales ROI? Probably some people the most important factor, right? I would say, well, let's look at the website traffic. Like, how did our SEO perform? How did our emails perform? Did we get more traffic off of them, right? Things we can drive from Google Analytics. If you're doing any of that more reactive digital ads, cost per conversion metrics, right? Again, digital ads, impressions, clicks, engagements. Every organization will probably build the top 3 are pretty inherently obvious for most, right? As marketers, we would probably look into more detailed pieces underneath to really kind of pull things back. Again, all of these will be tweaked a little bit to each different organization. You know what I mean? If you're trying to get off the ground a floor coating division, right, that's going to have a different lift than I did a lot of work in offices and I want to go target medical offices. Right? You know what I mean? There's just different things for different campaigns is what I'm kind of getting at. All right, we're getting to the end, right? My presentation summary. So the biggest benefit, in our opinion, of customer diversification is mitigating risks, right? That's, I think, the underlying of the whole entire piece here is that you're resilient across anything that's beyond your control. Adjacent market, new market, and related service are the 3 kinds of diversification we looked at here. Target audience and data are the foundation of a successful campaign, right? Without that, you're really gonna struggle. We're gonna say, hey, let's attack this target audience using direct, brand, and search marketing. Let's determine campaign success using KPIs, right? So those are just kind of the 4 points, 5-point summary of like, hey, here's what we talked about today, all that sort of stuff. This slide. So I talked throughout here about some of these AI concepts and platforms, right? So OpenAI, ChatGPT, Zapier, right, there they are. I will give this out to anybody, so if you don't have to take pictures or write it down or anything, but I'm happy to do that. This is my last slide. It says, thank you for listening to me today. Does anyone have any questions? Anyone got it? So that's it. You can ask questions. No? All right. Oh, one. You guys still only working with one contractor? Yeah. It's a popular question for us. Yeah, the guy in Rhode Island's in Connecticut too. So. Yeah, I know. Yeah, so a big thing about us for a lot of the work that we do, depending on who we're working for, is we're really just working with one person in a given market. And that's where that question kind of stemmed from.
What do you see as the biggest challenge in the industry?
My industry or your industry? As it pertains to you guys? It's a really good question. Long horizon, like 5 to 10 year horizon, I do think the AI has some little bit of the back of my mind keeping me up at night, like all that sort of stuff. I think short term, there's so many things coming out and so many ideas and concepts and this and that and people trying to do it and this, that it just is kind of like too much going on and it hasn't really been figured out how to be done well by everybody. Does that make kind of what I'm getting at? But I do think 10 years from now, how has it really impacted like what we do and what's efficient and what can be DIY'd and what can be taken off our plate? I think that's kind of a fear for me, broadly speaking in marketing. That's why I wish I knew how to paint a building. Hey, you know what? So, or I knew how to code the robots that are going to paint the buildings one day, right? Yeah, no, in this space, I think there's kind of some contraction. Obviously in the economics, everyone's kind of seen, you know, when people couldn't get materials for the last 2 years because everything was being bought at such a rapid pace and the backlogs were growing, that obviously you can't just you don't just go to here and stay here forever. There is some slope back down. I see that as one. I think one that's probably under-discussed as it relates to how do commercial painters market their business. I think the acceptance of the fact that like you're gonna soon be dealing with a 28-year-old, I think that's one that a lot of people haven't thought about and aren't really addressing, broadly speaking, in their marketing. Like the person who's gonna pull the trigger is pretty soon gonna be 27, 28, 29, 30, right? They're gonna be a different buyer. And they came up with a different use of technology and style of communication and approach to things and the way they evaluate things. And their change is gonna be different than any change from the preceding, I'll call it 50 years. Right, you know what I mean? Just in terms of like, all I wanna do is text. I don't wanna speak to you on the phone. Right, I'm sure somebody in here has encountered that, right? Maybe no one will admit it, but like, hey, don't call me, just text me, right? We've all gotten there, right? So I think that would be one that I think is kind of overlooked a little bit, broadly speaking. Anyone else got any questions?
It's an interesting comment because text is the new form. I mean, not a new form, but certainly used a great deal. And you don't get the nuances that a conversation brings when you have an issue or you're trying to discuss something with somebody. So I find that a real challenge from my age group when I'm dealing with younger project managers and such, that we don't, you know, if you have a conversation, you can kind of gauge their acceptance or non-acceptance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Voice inflections, it's easier to deal with. So other than a written text, because you don't know.
Oh yeah,
You know,
1,000%.
big deal.
And you just wait till now they have a plugin on the keyboard to chat GPT and they go, write a text responding to da-da-da-da, and it just goes shoop, and then they hit send on that, and they're not even thinking about what's even going in there.
Read the information you send many.
Yeah.
They catch a couple of words and either fly off the handle or go in another direction.
Yeah, right.
So what are your thoughts on mass texting campaigns?
Well, I think that I am trending, if I didn't get a text about like the employee retention credit or PPP loans or like I can get you $100 million in funding tomorrow, text like twice a day, I'd probably be more open to it. However, if you have an engaged audience, and it's not just unsolicited, I think unsolicited to me is so off-putting, at least to me personally. I'm 39 too, just so people know where I'm coming from in that like millennial Gen Z age conversation here. To me, the unsolicited text is so off-putting. But if it was a mass text to 500 people I've previously worked with that just said something like, hey, I'm reaching out, we've worked together in the past, I have capacity in the next 3 weeks, I have a crew with capacity in the next 3 weeks that could do 2 or 3 days at your property. If you'd like to schedule, click here or call here. I think that's brilliant and really smart, especially moving into the younger demographic on the more DTO, repaint, commercial property, facility management side of things, right? I think it's really smart. Construction side of things, you could run the same piece about, hey, do you have any projects? Can I offer you an estimate? You know what I mean? There's other ways you could utilize it here. I think it's really smart. I just think it needs to be, I don't want to necessarily say opt-in. I'm not like the biggest opt-in on everything guy. You certainly by law have to have the opt-out language on there and allow people to kind of block, you know what I mean? Because I think it's going to be hard to get opt-in. Like, how many people in here love to just opt in for an email? Right? Nobody. No one raised their hand. For the people sitting in the front, nobody in the back raised their hand about opting in for emails or text messages. But I think, yeah, I think it's definitely something that needs to be on the forefront for everyone. Anybody else got anything?
Just your observation of touch points to a customer, new customers, not relevant to you. When I mean, I don't feel like I'm old, but I'm guessing.
Yeah.
When I started, you could call, touch somebody 3 times, 5 times, and you make a sale. It seems like now, 10, 11, 12 times.
Could be way north of that. I think the depth of the touch point with technology, social media, email, and all those things has really changed. You know what I mean? So it's much easier. High frequency is significantly easier to achieve in 2023 than it was in, I'll say 1993. I don't know how old you are. I'm just picking out 30 years ago. Where if you talk to somebody 3 times, that was a lot of times because you got them when they were at their desk on the phone. You know what I mean? Now, I think the number is significantly higher. And again, we also always harp on the consistency. You got to be on it like 1, 2, 3, because everything does move so quickly. It's the out of mind, out. Like if you're not there when they have the need, they just don't care. Like the guy who sent them the email last in some ways, or called them last, or texted them last, or they saw their ad last. That's the person that gets the engagement. It's part of the reason why we don't work for disaster restoration companies, because like when a flood happens, it doesn't matter how much marketing you've done, people just call the guy in their phone. Like they don't care. Like I just need it instantaneously, right? So we're just like, hey, that's just a brutal space. So I think that the number's significantly higher, but the depth of touch points has contracted a little bit. Right, it's a good question. If you can get those quality face-to-face meetings and those kinds of things and phone calls, I think that number's probably a little lower. So we have 2 minutes left. If anybody has any more questions, I'd be happy to take them, or everyone can stretch their legs early. All right, no more questions. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it.